as his campaign implodes, Republicans desperately want Donald Trump to stay on message. So in response to that, he went off the rails during what was supposed to be an economic speech in North Carolina. And on top of that, he was hit with federal labor charges by one of the country's most influential unions. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Republicans are freaking out about Trump's recent state of bad polling and his sudden self-immolation, and now they're taking to his favorite TV channel to beg him to stay on message.
You've got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning her position.
I want this campaign to win. But the campaign is not going to win talking about crowd sizes. It's not going to win talking about what race Kamala Harris is. It's not going to win talking about whether she's dumb. It's not. You can't win on those things. The American people are smart. Treat them like they're smart.
You can't treat people like they're smart if you're not also smart, you know? You know how dumb people treat smart people? They shove them into lockers. You think notorious moron Donald Trump is suddenly going to be capable of having a smart conversation with voters? This is a guy who thinks windmills cause cancer, humans should inject bleach to cure COVID, and electric boat batteries will lead to shark attacks. That's a real thing he said. Even the sharks were like, maybe we shouldn't eat this guy. I think he's gone bad. What you want to happen is impossible. Trump is a 78-year-old narcissist. He's now the old guy in the race, and old guys don't change. That's why every grandpa has a desktop computer that's 2 feet deep and a car that gets 9 miles to the gallon. Trump is incapable of staying on message, any message, both because he operates entirely on impulse and because he has no message. His allies desperately want him to focus on the economy, but he cannot. Yesterday, for example, he gave what was supposed to be an economic speech in North Carolina that ended up being light on economy stuff.
Many people say that the only reason the stock market is up is because people think I am going to win. It's no wonder they're both socialists. They're actually beyond socialists. I think they skipped over socialists. You know, Europe's a basic disaster because they've tended to go a little bit woke. Remember CNN standing up? This is a season of love. We're going to go to a net zero policy. What does that mean? I have no idea. So we never really got the credit we deserved for that with the ventilators and all of the different things that we did, the outfits. If people want to take advantage of our country, they have to pay to take advantage of our country. Your quality of life is going to collapse under these lunatics. By contrast, she said it already has. Who said that, ma'am? Wow. You look healthy, though. You look very nice.
You know, everyone has been calling Trump weird, but then you hear him say something totally normal like, you look healthy. And you realize he's just a regular dude. If you're on a date and the guy you're with says, you look healthy, that's how you know he's a serial killer. He sounds like a janky doctor you're forced to go to because he's in network. Well, you look healthy, now let's get in there and poke around. And even when Trump did try to focus on economic issues like inflation, he couldn't help but make it just incredibly weird.
But the groceries, just to put it in simple terms, people go to the grocery store and they have less than half a deal. In fact, I had something here. I did have something I would show you. Wait a minute. I don't know if you've seen this. I used it once. Oh, I have it. I do have it. Look at this. Look at this. So this is Tic Tacs, right? I don't know if I like the company. I've never met. I have no idea. They're so lucky. Look at all the television. This is the greatest commercial they ever had. But that's what happened. This is inflation. This is Tic Tac. This is Tic Tac. This is inflation. This is what's happened. I just happened to have somebody gave me this one today. I said, I think we'll put it up as an example of inflation.
First of all, it is incredibly troubling that he thinks Tic Tacs are groceries. Second, people say Trump is an entertainer, and it's true. What's more entertaining than watching a 78-year-old man fumble around inside his coat pocket for a container of tiny Tic Tacs? He's like a drunk magician at a 5-year-old's birthday. You want me to pull a quarter from behind your ear? What about 2 times in a nickel? Also, I like how he admits that he just got the idea when someone handed him the Tic Tacs. Maybe we'll get lucky and next someone will give him those wax fangs you get on Halloween. Also, just a reminder, that whole bat prop comedy routine started with this.
But the groceries, just to put it in simple terms.
That was Simple Terms? Simple Terms ends with a grown man saying, "This is Tic Tac, this is Tic Tac. Big Tic Tac, little Tic Tac. Here's the big one, here's the little one, and now we're gonna make them kiss. They're gonna kiss. Tic Tacs. And now they're gonna have baby Tic Tacs, and that's inflation. That's how you have inflation, big Tic Tac, little Tic Tac." Remind me, Nikki Haley, what was your advice for Mr. Tic Tac here?
Treat them like they're smart.
Oh. Sounds like he's listening, Nikki. Trump has reportedly been rattled and disoriented by Harris's surge, and now he's struggling to adjust and stay on message, mainly because he has no message. There's no intellect or thought process. He just moves around reacting to light and heat like one of those single-celled organisms. Republicans want to make this election about the economy, but they're fighting uphill against the fact that voters see them as the party of Wall Street, country clubs, and corporate bosses. Remember, Trump himself has repeatedly bragged about how rich he is, including just a few months ago when he was asked how he was going to come up with the money to pay his many fines.
The former president today claiming on social media he has, quote, almost $500 million in cash, which he had intended to spend on his campaign.
You have to come up with something like $400 million. How close are you to securing the bond, or what you need for that?
I have a lot of money. I could do what I want to do.
Well, I have a lot of cash. I think he looked at my cash and he said, well, we'll take all of his cash. Well, as I say, I have a lot of cash, and I have much more than that in cash. But I would also like to be able to use some of my cash to get elected. They don't want me to use my cash to get elected. They don't want that. They don't want me taking cash out to use it for the campaign. But I have a lot of cash.
First of all, no one who actually has a lot of cash has to say that. If you're at dinner with Richard Branson, you'll never hear him say the words, "It's on me, I got a lot of cash. I got money left over for Tic Tacs." Second, why does he keep saying the word cash over and over like that? Even Tango didn't say cash that often. If you got that joke, it's time to schedule a colonoscopy. But in the Trump era, Republicans have tried to rebrand themselves as a workers' party, and they thought Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, the guy from Appalachia who wrote a book calling everyone who lives there a bunch of lazy hillbillies, was their secret weapon to do that.
He's essentially for the worker. He's seen the worker be horribly abused and taken advantage of, and he's for the worker. That's what his book is about.
He'd fight for the worker as much as I fight for the worker. You know, they go after J.D. You know why? He's for the worker. He's for people that get out and they want to work, work, work.
Trump doesn't know a single thing about the working class other than it has the words work in it. Does he also think middle-class people like the middle seat on flights? Probably thinks anyone who flies coach is an actual coach. It's very sad. It's very sad. The only carry-ons you're allowed to take are a clipboard and a whistle. The point is, Trump and Vance have cynically tried to rebrand the GOP as a populist pro-worker party, but Trump threw all that out the window on Monday during his live stream with Elon Musk when he caused an uproar by praising Musk for firing employees who go on strike, which is against the law.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
You know, I owe Trump an apology. I used to think he was an Olympic-level idiot, but I was wrong. Only a genius chess master Jedi wizard would do a conference call on a dying app with a South African vampire, and after a 40-minute technical delay, brag about how awesome it is to fire people during a campaign where the #1 issue is jobs. While it should be noted, sounding like a cross between Jerry Lewis and Sylvester the Cat. Was he wearing those Halloween fangs already? Was it just a mouthful of Tic Tacs? Seriously, just take a second to appreciate how disgusting this is. Two billionaire ghouls laughing with each other about firing workers just for exercising their legally protected right to strike. I find this especially galling because I'm a proud union member. I've gone on strike multiple times, including 2007, when no one told me not to wear that hat. You're like, what is it? It's like a beanie, but it's got a brim. I'd say fashion was different in 2007, but everyone knew it sucked even then. It was free, if that helps. But I'm realizing it makes it worse because, you know, I Had a job where I was definitely making hat money at the time. Man, I'm in a real hat hole here. Not sure how to get back to Today News. Look, that hat was a mistake, but not as bad a mistake as Trump and Elon laughing it up about firing workers. Nailed it. And to make matters worse, Trump's brag about firing people might also land him and Musk in some legal hot water.
Trump faces backlash for his virtual interview on social media with Elon Musk, where he praised the billionaire for firing striking workers. The United Auto Workers Union filing federal labor charges against the pair for allegedly trying to intimidate and threaten workers.
It is federal law that workers have a right to strike, and you cannot be fired for striking. And, Donald Trump thumbs his nose at the law. I mean, there's another theme coming out. I call Donald Trump a scab because that's what he is.
It's true. He's a scab. He looks like someone picked at him and he didn't heal properly. Again, let me underscore this. The number one issue in this election is jobs. Trump bragged about firing people, and now he's the subject of federal labor charges filed by a union representing workers in a crucial industry that, as you may have heard, is prominently located in Michigan, a key swing state, although Trump probably doesn't even know that. If an aide asked him, where do you think cars are made? He'd probably say, Carolina. The hand is South Carolina, and then the little part up top's North Carolina. After the head of the United Auto Workers called Trump a scab, Democratic VP nominee Tim Walz joined in and doubled down.
I saw our friend Sean Fain at the UAW had a name for that. He called him a scab, just to be clear. That's not name calling, it's an observation and fact, just to be clear.
It really helps that Walz has the energy of a high school football coach sticking up for his players. Hey, coach, your quarterback just called my quarterback a loser. Well, let me check the scoreboard here. We scored 31 points, you scored 6. You guys are losers. That's not name calling, that's just a fact. Walz was talking to union members in LA, and in that same speech, he touted the fact that in Minnesota, they banned what are known as captive audience meetings, which are basically meetings where your employer makes you sit there and listen to a presentation explaining why you shouldn't join a union. Business groups sued Walz over that policy, a fact Walz actually bragged about.
As governor, I signed one of the biggest packages of pro-worker policies in history into law. In Minnesota, we made it easier for workers to form unions. We strengthened workers' protections. And yes, we banned those damn captive audience meetings for good in Minnesota. Last time I said that at a union meeting, they sued me over it. It was the best thing to get sued over I ever said. We're going to continue to ban those meetings.
So awesome the Democrats finally have a candidate with dad stuck in traffic energy. Walz talks about Trump like he's yelling through the window at someone who just cut him off. No way, I'm not letting you in, ass. You. You're gonna get out of your car, tough guy. I'd love to get sued by you, weirdo. Let's go. Dad! Be careful, though, Tim. You don't want to start a bragging war with Donald Trump over who's been sued more. You'll never win. I've been sued for everything: harassment fraud, libel fraud, defamation fraud, wrongful termination fraud, non-payment of services, personal injury, defective products, negligence, discrimination fraud, breach of contract fraud, tax fraud, business fraud, tic-tac fraud. They said they were tactics, and I was trying to pass them off as tic-tac, and that's tic-tac fraud. You're not allowed to do that. Civil fraud, campaign fraud, insurance fraud, mail fraud, mortgage fraud, securities fraud, wire fraud, foreclosure fraud, and fraud where I defrauded a fraudster who sued me for fraud. For 2 years, Trump coasted against Joe Biden, but now he's facing Harris. His whole world has been upended. Now he actually has to campaign, and that's impossible because he can't stay on message, and he doesn't even have a message to stick to, even if he tried. Instead of comparing himself to the 81-year-old Biden, he's now comparing himself to the much more energetic Harris and Walz. And compared to them, no one's looking at Trump and saying,
You look healthy, though.
This has been a closer look.